Good evening. It is 2025 Galactic time. Just watched the third of 3 live streams from Frontier regarding the new Beyond update, which is coming. So a quick reaction video. I've got some notes and some timestamps to have a look. So let's have a look at this. They first talked about engineering, which was at about 9:40. So basically, with engineering, we're so used to seeing this sort of screen. This is new, so they've tweaked the interface a little bit, made it a bit more easy to understand and easy on the eye. Down the left hand side we've got the various grades and ranks. Now you won't be able to, if you've got grade 5 with Todd, for example, you won't be able to do grade 5 anything. You actually have to upgrade each modification from grade 1 to grade 5. So if you want to do long range weapons, for example, you'll have to work your way through grade 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. Now sounds like it sucks, but in fact it's actually pretty cool, because what they've done is they've said those red circles you can see on screen, they are the negative impacts that you'll get from the initial rank modification. So for each rank you go up 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5, you'll have to pay whatever it says on those red dials. So it's usually distribution draw, thermal load and ammo clip size for weapons. Now you'll only do that once per rank. So you'll throw, the old way of doing it was you'd roll the dice and you would get a lucky dip on, is it good, is it bad, and then a secondary roll to say, oh, and by the way, we're going to do this to your weapon. It might be, and we're going to increase the thermal load a bit more, or we're going to reduce the distribution draw, it was sort of like a lucky dip on a lucky dip, basically. So now what you get is this initial impact on the thing you're upgrading. So we're going to take, on this particular example, we're going to take a 0.29 megawatt hit on the distribution draw, which is up 15% on normal. And we haven't yet rolled the dice yet. So this is what we're going to do when we roll the dice. Now, when they do generate modification, which is there, it tells you the initial impact you're going to get. So this is a guarantee. So when you do the generate, which I think they're just pointing out what those various things are. There we go. So you can see here, they've rolled the dice. Those red things have gone out. So you can roll the dice as many times as you like now, and you'll never worsen the weapon, or you'll never worsen the modification. So you can see they're about almost halfway round, coming up to halfway round on the damage per second and on the damage. Now, if you re-roll, it will add to that. So instead of it being a case of, oh, it might get worse, it might get better, it's now only a case of it will get better. And the negative impacts, like distribution draw, only happen once per rank. So Sandro basically said, you'll do that each time you go through rank 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5, because you're sort of up in the game each time you go, but it's just once, and then you understand that's affected it negatively, but these things are additive to the positive side of things. So you'll only ever add to what you're positively doing to the modification, which is fantastic, because it completely removes the whole roll of the dice, roulette table, lucky dip aspect of it. Gets rid of all that pretty much entirely, and it's a known hit for an increasing positive, which I think is fantastic. So let me just see if I've covered everything there. Experimental effects. Oh, experimental effects. 1325. So before, experimental effects would be the proper the real random wheel of death. Well, now it's just a purchase list. So if you've got the materials or the data, you can go and add that experimental effect, and it's yours. So completely, in the old days it used to affect, I say in the old days, in the current build, it used to affect your rank. So you'd spend rank to buy a perk. And now it's a case of, well, if you want smart rounds, as long as you've got those things in the materials list, you can have them. And from what Sandro was saying much later on in the video when he was answering questions, he was suggesting that if you do upgrade initially, so let's say you buy auto loader and you're grade 1, if you continue to increase to grade 5, it's still an auto loaded grade 5. It's not a case of you lose the experimental upgrade. You can only have one experimental upgrade per weapon, so there's no stacking of, you know, smart incendiary rounds or corrosive emissive or anything like that. But it's you know, it's a heck of an upgrade on the old roulette wheel of doom, because you can sit there all day and not get the thing you want. And I mean, I myself have done engineering runs where I've gone and upgraded the weapon. I've got the performance I like, or, you know, I've got the boost that I wanted to it, but I didn't get the experimental, and then I spend rank with the engineer to get the boost, you know, to get that experimental boost on it. And it's crazy when you think about it, because you then have to go and do rubbish random upgrades to rebuild your rank with them, to be able to carry on and upgrade the next weapon. So it can get very, very messy, and I must have spent, like, wasted so much materials just to sort of build back up to grade 5 for each you know, multi-cannon or whatever I've upgraded on the gunship. So that was pretty much that. Their next thing is mining. So they talk a little bit about needing materials, and so then they say, well, you know, a good way of getting that is with mining. So let's have a look at this. So Chuggy Chug, is that me or is that, oh, I don't know, I think it was the stream. There we go. So mining, so materials will now show if they're discovered or not. So let me see if I can, there we go. So now, as you can see there, iron is undiscovered. So Ed's not scanned or collected iron, well, not scanned, but just collected iron before, which is quite good if you want to, you know, I suppose it's a quality of life thing, isn't it? Really, it's this whole, do I know what that is or don't I know what that is? And one of the other things that they showed in here is what's called an ignore list. So I think it's coming up. Excuse me. I think it's coming up shortly. So Bertrandite, nobody wants that. So you can add it to an ignore list, or remove it from an ignore list. And basically what that means is that if it goes in the refinery, it'll be auto-vented. So you don't have to go to that whole thing of sitting there on the refinery screen, pressing vent on all the things you don't want. And it'll also tell limpets to ignore that material, so they won't even bother trying to collect it. Obviously, if it's already in there, if it's already in the refinery, it'll dump it out. But it's a great way of not having to mess about with junk you don't want, basically. So that's that. Spectacular for those people that are miners and haven't got an enormous ship like a T9 or a cutter that just can't fill it up with refineries and just, you know, convert everything that goes in. That's a very nice feature, because ultimately it means, you know, you can just not bother with the rubbish. So next thing is at 39. And this is material traders. Now you can see them there in the contacts menu, and this is incredible. This is fantastic, because it's going to change the way we do engineering, because we're so used to having to, you know, Google or go on Reddit and look at where can I find so and so material. and it's, you know, you can only get it randomly once per 1,000 attempts at whatever station. With this, basically, if you look at chemical there, that's a rank. That's a 5-rank system. So thermic, conductive, shielding, crystals, and so on. So you've got like worn shield. Hang on, hold still, boys. So there, chemical storage units, chemical processors, chemical distillery, chemical manipulators, and pharmaceutical isolators. So that's like the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of that particular material type. And what you can do with this is you can say, well, I need, for argument's sake, I think in the demo they do conductive components. So as you can see there, conductive components has a little 1-3 with some arrows next to it. Now he has 24 basic conductors. So what that's saying is you can convert basic conductors into conductive components, or you could convert conductive components back into basic conductors. Now there's a trade-off here, is that, you know, it's going to take well, it looks like 3. Oh, so that's 6 basic conductors make 1 conductive components, and likewise in the other direction, 1 conductive components made 3 basic conductors. So this is a manufactured material trader, and the idea is that you're going to get different types of material trader from what Sandro was saying. Things like data traders and things like that. So you can convert, I don't know, you know, basic jump scans into enhanced jump scans or something along those lines. But it's going to mean that finding those hard to find materials is really now a case of finding a particular trader, a particular material or data trader. And this looks absolutely spectacular. Again, this is something that's for those that don't want to do the break the fourth wall kind of thing and jump out of Elite and go do Reddit and Google and find a wiki. And I'm guilty of it myself. I've done it. You know, I've followed Down to Earth Astronomy's videos for months for particular materials, or how to do this or how to do that, because his videos, and his excellent channel, by the way, if you haven't seen it, go check it out. Down to Earth Astronomy. And it's just a nice, clear, concise way of doing that thing that he's talking about in the video. So with this, it's great because essentially you can stay in game, you can stay in character almost and go do this. So once you start establishing who's got you know, which stations have got material traders, you can build up a network of people to go to get things when you need them. Sort of like a go-to guy. Now, incidentally, here in this bit, we've now got 100 capacity limit on each material or each data point. So instead of the 500 or 800 or whatever it was limit total, where you could end up with 800 of one thing and 2 of another, it's now a case of 100 of each. So 100 is plenty. I mean, if you've done engineering, if you've attempted it, doing 100, having 100 of any material is more than enough to go through, even on the old system of engineering, multiple repeats and rolls. But now with the fact that it's additive, essentially, as long as you've got the materials, I mean, when I did my gunship and I was upgrading things, I ended up with about 30 or 40 of most of the materials I needed to do the multi-cannons and the pulse laser, and that was enough. That was plenty. So this is interesting because it's more than enough per unit, and it gets away from the whole total capital limit, total capacity limit, I should say, which, you know, kind of got in the way. Especially you'd get messages like, oh, data bank, you know, data full or whatever, and you'd look and you got 74 basic scans of something, and it's just, you don't need it. So what else have we got? Oh, coming up at 43, which in fact is, it is there. So one of the things that Sandro mentioned was, in anywhere that's got outfitting, he said you can get remote workshop. So this basically is, if you've, say, pinned a upgrade, you can apply the upgrade without going back to the engineer. Now, what you won't get is you won't gain any rank with the engineer, and you can't go off and choose different upgrades. But if you were just sort of waiting to get that last bit of material, and then you could get that grade 5 overcharged weapon, then you can do it at wherever you're docked, as long as they have an outfitters, which is fantastic. Again, it's not a bit like remote, like when we ship modules and things about the place and ships, but it's a bit like having to, you ain't gonna basically go see the engineer again if they were in Maya and you're in Shinrata. You haven't got to bother. But obviously, if you're only on grade 4 and you were looking for a grade 5, you've got to. So, somebody asked Sandro at a point in the video, do you keep your engineering rank once the upgrade hits? And he looked a bit sheepish for a few seconds, but he did go on to explain it. And that is, they're going to basically translate your current engineered modules over to the new engineering modules, but in the old style. And if you choose to go and switch that module over, like you want to attempt to re-upgrade it, let's say you didn't get a god roll on when you were upgrading a gun, for example. So you're almost good, but you're not all the way there. If you convert it, it will say, right, you are top of rank 4, and you've got to apply rank 5 to it now. So what that means is you're going to end up getting some more materials and redoing that last rank, but it's going to allow you to, because remember, it's additive now, not random. You're just going to be able to go add, and it's full grade 5. So essentially you can god roll all of your things you want to upgrade, materials permitting. 4930. Let's just scrub through here. Now I'm going to drop the audio back on for this. This is long overdue and amazing.
Yeah. Apparently the view's okay.
So Ed's going to set a jump and listen to the ship.
I sort of said, what happens to grade 5 modules when you try to upgrade them? If they're grade 5, you upgrade them, they drop to the top of grade 4 and then be converted into using the new class.
Oh, there we go. That's him saying what I just was on about.
So again, if you've got modules that have got god rolls at grade 5, it's interesting. You might want to keep them. Depends how good you think they are.
Here we go.
Okay, so I'm going to do the usual. Oh, my landing gear's down. So.
Landing gear.
Yeah.
There's a male voice. There's a male ship voice.
Drive charging.
Who's going?
We're just jumping.
I love the way they play it down.
I like that. What?
And yeah, so there's now a male ship voice. Victor, they're calling it. So we've got Victor and Verity, the male and female ship voices. So it's a little bit of customization. Now, let me just drop the audio back off. And what was nice, I as soon as they did that, I thought HCS voice packs. And they did say straight away they are working with HCS voice packs, which if you haven't heard, they're the people that do the like celebrity ship voices, and it's all handled through Voice Attack. And they said there isn't a plan to bring the celebrity voices like William Shatner, Brent Spiner, and so on as yet, but they are working with them, which is nice because that was a particular third-party product which it really worked well with, really works well with Elite. And I would hate to think that Frontier stamped on somebody else's development just to bring it in-house. And so it was nice for them to say that they're working with them. I don't know what to what extent, but it's a good thing to hear them say that. I think it's nice to be upfront about these things. So essentially the last thing is Galnet audio. So I'll drop the sound back up.
This is one of the slower ships, though,
and
so it is going to take me a while to get there.
Here we go.
Well,
so Galnet audio is the.
I don't know. Have a listen to.
Well, you're here.
Oh yeah, Galnet News, this little thing that's coming in, eh?
Should I just play it?
Just do it.
Simbad regime campaign concludes. A spokesperson for the Simbad regime has announced that its appeal for construction materials has been enthusiastically received by the galactic community, resulting in a massive influx of deliveries to Parmitano Terminal, the organization's base of operations. The spokesperson went on to say, the Simbad regime would like to thank all the commanders that supported this project.
Let's just drop that down to about half. So, essentially, that is in-ship radio, basically. Galnet, we're used to seeing it when we go and dock, and you know, listen to it in station or read it in stations. But all of these, let's just drop that down some more. All of these essentially radio stations or playlists, you can just add them to a playlist and queue them up. And if you're doing a hut and run, you know, you've got 40 minutes to play with, or well, no, you've got 2 hours on hut and run. I was thinking Speeton, and you just queue them up, hit play, and listen away. The speech is quite good. I'd like to think that what they will do is they will integrate the male voice thing as well as the female voice, like they have in the ship, in Galnet, which would be fantastic. But it's reasonably good. It's like with all text-to-speech translation, some words it seems to like get a little bit wrong, but not massively wrong. I noticed when it was reading out one of the names of the powers, you know, the power play powers, it sort of stumbles over the word a little bit, like it sort of rushes it. But, you know, it's just about, if you've ever played about with text-to-speech, it is just a case of having to spell the word phonetically. So, you know, you put, if you're spelling the word shoe, you put S-H-O-O for shoe, not S-H-O-E, because it would say shoey if it didn't know any better. So, you know, it's early days. This is, you know, as the guys say in the live stream, hot build. So lots of things can change. This is pre-beta, and you know, it's something that they could. It's very little effort on their part to just improve the odd word. Like if you see this word, pronounce it this way, and it'll just iron out those little things. It'd be nice, actually. I'd love to get them to add, depending on how far out you are from the bubble, the quality of the audio. So just like you hear in wing chat with pilots, when it comes over and it's all crackly with the beep at the end, like proper comms chatter. It'd be nice to get Galnet sort of proper scratchy audio, you know, a little bit, you know, coming through on a, you know, 3 bits of audio rather than 16 bits. That'd be quite nice. Now, this is an example of Galnet audio in German, which is quite nice.
Regime kommt zum Abschluss. Ein Sprecher der Fraktion Simbad Regime gab bekannt, dass der Appell zur Beschaffung von Baumaterialien in der galaktischen Gemeinschaft auf viel Zuspruch gestoßen ist und in der Folge große Mengen der gewünschten Waren an die Operationsbasis an Bord von Parmitano Terminal geliefert wurden. Der Sprecher sagte weiter, Simbad Regime möchte allen Kommandanten danken, die dieses...
So, I don't speak a dot of German, but that sounded quite clear to me. It sounded like it was forming the sounds and the words reasonably well. If there's any German viewers, please comment, because it'd be interesting to know how that sounds. There's always an element of translation, just going from the text into German text, I assume. You know, if you've ever used Google Translate, it sometimes gets it a bit wrong. But having to then translate that into speech is another layer of difficulty. So yeah, that was Galnet audio in German, and you can build playlists, as I say, in the right hand panel, add and remove news articles, and just listen to it on quite literally on the fly. There is coming up on the 60-minute mark, they go down to a planet's surface. This is one of the newer planets, showing off the new textures. It was a bit of an odd choice. It's right on the edge of a crater, so you can see the crater is quite light, and the surface of it is different to outside of the crater. But there's these odd little sort of black flecks in the ground surface, which I thought were shadows initially coming in, but they seem to stay there when they get very close. So I'm not sure quite what that is or what it's representing, but this is a huge step forward on, Beige Planet 1, Beige Planet 2, Beige Planet 3, which we had before, which was, it just took you out of it a little bit. Beige Cowboy, look at that. It was too samey, and you didn't bother looking at the planet. You just, like, for me, when I was going down looking for materials, you'd just fly in, beige ball, fly, land, scan, and be done. This actually makes you go, what's that over there? Why is that dark, or why is that light? And you would want to go and investigate that, and that might lead to finding a particular type of material or something interesting, alien base or whatever. They've got visual clues now that they can apply to these planet textures. So this is well overdue and fantastic. The last bit that they've got here is Galnet audio in Russian. Now, again, my Russian is as good as my German. So have a listen to this. If it's any good, if it sounds, if it's clear, understandable, if there's any Russian viewers, drop a comment just to let me know. It's nice to know that they're covering multi-language. I'd hate to think that this game was an English-only game. And with a lot of games these days, it's down to the players themselves to translate the text. You see little multi-language hacks come out. But Frontier have always been quite good at this from the get-go. So here's the Russian.
Кампания Симбат Режим завершена. По словам представителя Симбат Режим, компания по поставке строительных материалов была с энтузиазмом воспринята Галактическим Содружеством. Результатом этого стало резкое увеличение количества поставок на Парметанол терминал, основную базу организации. Представитель также заметил, Симбат Режим хотела бы выразить благодарность всем командирам.
So there we go. That was the third of 3 pre-beta live streams from Frontier. Thursday, we are now Tuesday, and so in 2 days' time we get the beta. So I'll try and do a video as soon as I get that, and want to show off the Chieftain, hoping they drop all the prices for the ships and the weapons and what have you, so we can have a play about with that. But I'll either do a live stream or a recorded video, which I'll upload as soon as after. And yeah, that was the live stream. He says, trying to figure it out. There we go. And we've got a graphic at 0. So there we go, folks. Rush job, I know. Slap that together, frankly, but hopefully that's given you something to look at. And by all means, discuss in the comments. If you liked, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't like it, give it a thumbs down. Let me know why. Just be civil in the comments, and that's fantastic. So have fun. See you on Thursday with the beta, and fly safe.